Hey everyone, this is an overview of my Muscateer. So we've got 14 horse or 12 horse Tecumseh gas, which sucks, really sucks. Doesn't have the power I want. It runs really great actually. Amazingly, it runs fantastic. The biggest problem is it just doesn't have the power that I think I need. Homemade exhaust system. Used a existing muffler and modified it. Put it out through there. Okay, down to the CVT. Now, I don't know if I can get this to work, but you can see a slight misalignment here. This is just slightly askew that at an angle like that. You can sort of see that. There's one of my problems that I'm running into. It works. It's the way it was when I got it. I can't do anything about it until I redesign a engine mount. I'm going to use a screwdriver here. This is going to be my tool pointer. So down here is a rubber biscuit on top of a plate and a rubber biscuit under the plate, and that's the rubber isolation mounts that this engine has. As well, I don't know if I can get it in there's a rubber spacer right here. It's a hockey puck cut down, and that mounts the motor to this plate as well, so it's double isolated. This primary clutch is a 700 or 780 series Salisbury, and this is a Salisbury secondary as well. The reason I've marked the clutch, the secondary, and the belt is to show when I'm stalled out on a hill, I'm able to determine if the belt is slipped. Because the engine's running, I'm able to hear the engine run, so I want to see if I'm seeing white streaks or not. If the secondary is stopped, then I know I'm not getting a transfer of power. Now you'll see that there's no helix inside here at all, none down in here. All this does is move linear. It just moves in and out. There's no torque sensing on this secondary whatsoever. I can pull up on this and see that they move in parallel. See that? So this is a speed clutch, not a torque clutch. Thus, when you go uphill, it doesn't downshift. It always tries to stay in high gear. This is the Hagen transmission. It's a twin counter shaft, rotating shaft. So basically what happens is, doesn't matter which way the PTO input goes. It just, this particular PTO input is counterclockwise, based on the counterclockwise of the engine. When I pull on one of the levers, this one for example, it will cause, or actually it's easier if I push because I can do it with my foot for now. So if I push on that, the hydraulics go up and they either go into here or they'll go down to here. And what that does is, you can see it's trying to push the unit forward by driving the clutch. Now if I pull that one back, it'll now change, see, and toe on it. If I pull it back, it reverses it and tries to pull it backwards. There's an annular piston inside this and down inside here where the PTO input goes. And there's the same setup except no PTO input on the reverse side. This is the side I'll use for sort of show and tell because it's got less going on. So there's an annular piston in here and one here that actuates against some gears. I don't know if I can show you or not. There's some gears inside. You can just see. I'll see if I can get it to move. Nope. It actually requires me to, I'm turning the shaft, you can hear it, nothing happening inside until I get the clutch going. So I'd have to apply one of these two clutches inside, which basically causes a piston to move in and make contact with the gear. Under these caps are screws similar to these with springs that return the piston back to its neutral state. You'll see I've marked white paint marker on the screw head, And on this screw head, actually it's on all of them the same. And previously I was able to determine that one full revolution of the screw is 25 thousandths movement in or out. So I originally set the clearance of the clutches to 39 to 42 thousandths roughly. This time I changed the setting. I had too much heat in the transmission, and this time I set it to approximately 75 thousandths. What I did is I took and pushed one of the controls either forward or backward, depending on which clutch I was setting. I would adjust. Once I had the clutch all the way engaged inside the hydraulics, it forces the piston in. Then I would screw this screw and this screw in, for example, until it stopped and couldn't go anymore. I had the lock nuts backed off, of course. Once I had that, I'd play with it a bit. I'd release and tighten and reapply the control lever, and I would just play with it a bit until I found a sweet spot where it was locked, both of them. And then knowing that one revolution is 25 thousandths, I'd back out 3 revolutions on each screw, hold in place, and jam the lock nut down. So all 4 clutches are now subsequently set to approximately 75 thousandths clearance. What this does is enables me to go forward or backward independently on either side. Doesn't matter which. So I can apply forward motion and leave this in neutral and only drive the one side, or I can apply forward motion on one side and reverse motion, and what that does is it independently drives the left and right side respectively, forward and backwards. Or of course you've got full forward and forward backward if I go the other way. So there's a split in the shaft here. We've got two steady bearings. We've got another steady bearing on this end and one on this end. This is the side that's breaking the chain. There's the front axle, the middle axle, and the idler for it. You'll notice that I have a double sprocket here, and I'll come back over to this side. I have a double sprocket on this side as well. So if I do lose a chain, like I did yesterday, on the front, this shaft is still able to drive the rear axle only. And you'll notice down in there, the tensioner, I have to undo that screw, that nut, and adjust this screw here up or down, and that lifts on the chain and keeps, keeps the chain tight. Now, I don't know how much tension I should have, but that's what I've got right there. And that's about almost 4 feet of chain from there to there. Same on this side, not much tension. This front axle, not much tension. I have that one the same, but it's a different chain. These work by pivoting from that bolt, and they pivot up and down, which causes the chain, it moves. I'm going to turn this around. I don't know how good I can do this. It causes, I'm going to go to the other side, it's just easier. While I'm turning around and going around, you'll notice the battery in there. I've got it strapped in place. Fuel pump here. Voltage regulator, or well, voltage regulator in the middle, starter solenoid, and that's the reservoir for the hydraulics. The hydraulics are completely independent of the fluid inside the transmission while we're at it. Anyway, back to the chain drive. So by cranking here, I can crank down, which drives this downwards and keeps tension on this axle. You'll see there's quite the setup there. It pulls down 90 degrees on the drive here. This one I have almost 180 degrees of contact, which is good, but this one is a little less. There's probably 120 from here to about there, which isn't too bad, I guess. This side seems to be the one. You can see there's the alignment of the sprockets isn't too bad. From the idler to the main drive axle below. I can make them line up, but you can see here that looks pretty darn good, all 3 of them there. And then it goes, of course, forward like that. God, my video is going to twist and turn. Throttle linkage. I don't like this setup. I want to change it eventually. So that's the summary of this setup. Again, adjustment screws here and here, bleeder screws for the hydraulics, independent forward and back, reservoir fill here for the hydraulics, right there. You can see there's some fluid in, but that is completely independent, does not make any contact inside the transmission. It's just to actuate the pistons going in and out. Fuel tank up underneath, a little glove compartment I added for stowage, gauges that I'm going to change out because apparently my voltage gauge doesn't work, the amp meter isn't hooked up properly, and the hour meter, until I get what I want set up, I'm not going to connect it. Chain guards are over there, same with my seats, and my engine cover is out there on my waste vegetable oil. So that's in essence what we have. That's the Muscateer transmission, a Hagen, patented in late 69 or 70, I think it was, middle of the year. Of course, I've got all good primary wire for starting, going down in and tied up and away from everything. So there we go. Muscateer serial number. And let's see, LED lights, which do work, I think. Yeah, LED lights. Non-LED tail lights, but they are working, or supposed to be anyway. Wow, maybe they aren't. Maybe the wire broke, I don't know. Custom made labels, front and rear. Both sides have a label. The front has a label as well, custom made. I've got a winch coming. If you look right here, this is a large piece of 3/4 inch plywood that I laid in here, laid in the glasswork and reinforced this whole front end. Okay, that 3/4 inch plywood goes all the way up to here, like this. Covers this whole area right here on the inside. Then inside, from about here all the way across to around here, is another chunk of 3/4 inch plywood laminated in, and then as well right here, from here to here and approximately there to there, is another 3/4 inch, so that when I fabricate a nice good winch mount that comes out here, I can tie it in with braces and it won't pull this thing apart by doing that. Now it's harder